What's up, guys? This is Brave, and I'm back with another review of Readytolove. This is season 5, I guess, and this is episode 3. Let's just go ahead and jump right into it because we finally got some dates going on. We got some mixing and mingling going on. Let's get right into it. So we actually start this episode off with everybody getting together because they're going to have a mixer like they always seem to do on this show. And here's the thing. Tasia, she made sure she got there early in her bubblegum pink outfit with the matching glasses so that she could talk to some of the guys because she felt, a bit slighted. She felt like she was done wrong because the guys wanted to possibly send her home. And she's like, hold up. A couple of y'all got my number, so what's happened here? And the guys who were actually there, some of them did speak to her, and they had a good rapport. And then there were also some guys who she hadn't got a chance to talk to yet. So she wasn't going to get a real answer. I don't even know why she went and asked them anything. Because, girl, they wasn't going to be upfront with you. Come on now. These guys ain't trying to really hurt your feelings in person. If they could get by and send people home without, any names being dropped as to who sent them home, they'll do that. So after that, everybody starts showing up. I will say, I don't know if the producers told all the ladies to wear the lightest, brightest clothes, but that's what happened because you have Sabrina in lime green. There was a lot of bright pinks and oranges. I'm like, okay. They had to have told them to wear bright colors. So Tommy comes strolling in there. And y'all know how he always try to walk in like he the big man on campus. And he tells them how the women are going to be in control. One guy will be sent home. And this is going to be a mixer for them to start mingling with each other, right? Okay, cool. Let's go ahead and break down who was talking to each other. So first off, we see Tyrone. Baby boy said he will not be sent home this round. So he's going to go ahead, make his rounds with the ladies that he's interested in. Now we see him talking to Carrie. Now I will say, when I look at Tyrone and Carrie, I actually see them possibly being a couple. Like, to me, they look well together. But baby, by the time we got to the end of this episode, that was out the door. Anyways, we also see him talking to Zadia. He then made his rounds to talk to, Sabrina and Aisha. Now, Aisha over talking about how she's slurping down oysters or whatever. I'm like, okay. So that was definitely a sexual reference. It's so funny to me how most of the time it's the women who bring up the sexual references a lot of the times. And then at the end of the day, they don't want men to look at them sexually. But that's a whole other story for a whole other day. Let's just go ahead and move along. So then we also see Carrington. He's having a conversation with Carrie. I said, oh, okay, look at this. Because let's be honest, y'all. Last week, was that last week? Yeah, last week, we did not see much play for Carrie. Let's be honest. We saw a couple of other ladies getting all types of play. But nobody was checking for Carrie, it looked like. And it did look like nobody was really checking for Zadia like that. But this episode, they done proved me wrong. So Carrington, he's asking her questions like, what kind of hobbies do you have? What do you like? All this stuff. And she feels like it's more like an interview than getting to know her. Now, here's the thing. I think it's just that, number one, Carrington doesn't seem to have any game. He also seems like the type of guy who is putting on a front. I don't know what it is about Carrington, but I feel like he wants to appear a certain way on TV. Like, he wants to appear as this, smooth guy, but that's not really who he is. But anyways, now I will say that within this conversation that he had with with Carrie, he asked her, what was your hobbies? And she said, oh, I like to be adventurous. Ma'am, that is not answering the question. So keep that in mind because I want to bring that back full circle when we get to, the elimination round, because I feel like there was some truth in some things that he said. All right, now let's just go ahead and move on. At one point, we saw a random clip of Walter talking to Camille, and she just started asking him about if he had a good credit score. And I'm just like, girl, you don't even know this man like this. Is that what we doing? all right, Camille, you're a bit cuckoo. And then we saw, what's her name? Shiloh. She's telling Dante that she can twerk. I'm like, what is happening? What is happening within these conversations? So let's just hop on to the next conversation, because we saw Cornelius and Courtney talking. And, she's talking in the confessional about how she's an alpha female and how she goes after the man that she wants, all this stuff. And baby girl has really taken a liking to Cornelius. And when she asked him, oh, what's your love language? Baby boy straight up said, gifts. Y'all. When I saw him laugh, I said, there's no way I could ever date him. I'm sorry. Those clenched teeth. And when he laughed, you see every last one of them. No, thank you. That shit ain't attractive to me. So, it's weird, first of all, for a guy to say that his love language is gifts. Like, so you just want her to buy you stuff? Interesting. And then for her love language, I believe hers was physical touch. So then she starts to like touch on him or whatever. I'm like, girl, you better back up. He trying to save himself for Jesus. So I don't know what happened with the editing at this point, because we saw people leaving and it was nighttime. Of course, we see Camille talking to Cornelius, talking about she gonna call him and he better answer or whatever. And then we see Sabrina having this conversation with Corey, and it's still daylight outside. I'm like, what is happening with the editing? Anyways, he was trying to get to a second date. No, I'm sorry, a first date. Because he was saying like, oh, well, can I take you out sometime, whatever. Her point was, sir, I don't know you. You don't know me. We don't know each other well enough to go out on a date. Honestly, I wish that she would have just said, you know what, Corey? I have no interest in you. So how about this? You take your interest and put them somewhere else, because that's what I'm doing. Because clearly Sabrina has no interest at all in Corey. It did not matter what Corey had to say. And this is not me trying to justify him in any way. But I'm just saying, like, you could clearly tell she had no interest in anything Corey had going on. So this whole conversation was a waste of damn time. All right, now let's just go ahead and get to these dates, because Corey ended up getting a date out of pure luck, okay? And it is because Mamin's car broke down, or it had a flat tire, and he knew how to fix the flat tire. Now, I will say this. Shout out to him for knowing how to fix a flat tire, because a lot of men don't. My only thing was, girl, you ain't got AAA? Because usually everybody has AAA. You just call them and they come out and they fix it for you, boo. So, out of pity, I guess, she said, sure, Corey, I'll go out on a date with you. So they ended up meeting up at a park or whatever, went on some little nature walk. And the whole time he was trying to be funny, but he's really corny and lame. But it made her giggle a few times. I'm just like, girl, you could do better than this. I'm sorry, Mamin is a very beautiful woman. And I just feel like Corey ain't it. Like, he just seems so corny, so lame, and I can see why he never got to the second date. Now, let's just go ahead and talk about this little double date, okay? Now, the date was supposed to be Camille and Walter and Courtney and Cornelius, right? AKA, Camille was just there to spy on Cornelius and Courtney, and Walter was just a damn bystander. And within that whole conversation that they were having, I will say that I think that Walter and Courtney are a better match. For the simple fact that Camille was so worried about what Cornelius was doing, she had no focus on Walter. She was not worried about Walter. She didn't think about that man. Then on top of that, when they were having the conversation about like religion and stuff, it's funny to me because Camille thought she was about to one-up Courtney. Except for Courtney was like, no, I like to pray over my man. I like to do this and that. Because she does have, her faith in God. I'm telling y'all, Camille thought she was about to get one over on Courtney. Because Courtney looks like the girl who may have a good time, go out partying. Like, that's just the look that she gives off. Not that she actually, attending church all the time, praying all the time. But look at that. You cannot judge a book by its cover, Camille. So, At one point, they were talking about sex before marriage, right? And Walter is like, yeah, I'm definitely about to go ahead and have some woman bust it wide open. You have Courtney saying, I got to test drive it. Ain't no way I'm getting married and that thing ain't doing what it's supposed to do. But then you have Camille and Cornelius. They are both supposedly waiting for marriage. But Cornelius, he made a statement that I gave a side eye to, which was like, oh, but if you have like a slip up. I said, a slip up? There's no slip up in somebody. Sir, I'm not about to play this game with you. I'm sorry, but I'm giving a side eye to Cornelius, y'all. I'm giving him a side eye. Also, can I just point out that Camille needs to stop carrying around that fan? Like, I get it, she's probably premenopausal right now, but I just cannot take her bringing this little portable fan everywhere she go. Like, girl, cut it out. All right, now let's go ahead and move on to Zadia and Tyrone. They are meeting up. It looked like they both went to the gym and said, all right, we're going to meet up afterwards because they had on workout clothes. Anyways, they were just basically talking about, not they. Tyrone actually did most of the talking, which I was surprised by because he doesn't seem like he's the type to really open up. But within this scene, he was very vulnerable. He opened up about him having PTSD. He suffers from anxiety. He talks about how he handles it. And I was very proud of him in that moment. Let me tell you why. Because we have also had another guy on this show who had suffered from PTSD. What is his name? Can't remember. I just remember he had salt and pepper hair. And he talking about his version of therapy was cooking. So he didn't even go to a therapist. He just knew he had PTSD and he was just living with it. At least Tyrone is actually trying to better himself with it and deal with it in a better way. Like, he talked about how he has to go jog every morning up this hill and how he does this and he does that. And I love that Zadia was really receptive to it. She understood him and she appreciated the fact that he was very vulnerable in that moment. And I was like, you know what? Tyrone is not a bad guy. He really isn't. We all gave him that side eye when he started singing that song in Korean. But he ain't bad. All right, so now let's move on to another date, and that is Carrington and Aisha. Aisha talks a lot. Like, just her talking to her confessional, I'm just like, girl, you talk a lot. All right, so first things first that I actually want to point out is the fact that I believe Carrington is the youngest guy there right now. And let's be honest, this season, we got a lot of women who are in their 40s. We definitely did. So this whole age thing is going to be played out very quickly because Carrington is young and a lot of these women are older. I mean, Aisha, she's 38 and he's 33. And I just feel like they are definitely on two different paths because she has teenage children, she's been married, all these things, and he over here talking about he ain't never had a girlfriend because he only been in situationships, aka he'll mess around with you, he'll play in your face, but you ain't gonna ever get the title of a girlfriend. That's just how he roll. Red flag Carrington. I definitely believe that he has been in relationships before. I definitely believe that he has had a girlfriend before. Because, like, how'd you get your daughter? Was this like a hit it and quit it and then, oops, she became pregnant? Like, what was that, sir? Because you have a whole child. So, another thing about Aisha and Carrington is that when they talked about what they did, as we already know, she's a hair salon owner while he is an event planner, as he calls himself at one point. And I think that he just like works in like the nightlife, probably like club promotions and stuff like that. And like she said, guys who work in that type of industry, they're known for being cheaters. She didn't lie, but that doesn't mean that he's a cheater. Just trying to throw this man a bone. So at one point, Carrington, he says that he wants to know about Aisha's last relationship because, he didn't want to. This is the stunt that he pulled. I just realized. So when she asked him, "Oh, have you ever cheated before?" And, are you done with that life or whatever? The reason why he said that he was in situationships and not relationships was because he did not want her to ask him what went wrong in your last relationship. Because if you ain't had no relationship, what can you say went wrong? Because next thing you know, he asked her, oh, well, how was your last relationship? And as we know, she says that it was with her ex-husband, and how, she had to really get herself together. She went to therapy. She made sure her kids went to therapy. And I'm like, you know what? That is so amazing that she not only focused on getting herself right, but also the children. Because at the end of the day, a lot of times the kids are the ones who get lost in the shuffle because the parents are going at it, or they're doing this, they're doing that. So I definitely respect the fact that she made sure that her kids got their mind right too. All right, now let's go ahead to this other date, which was Shiloh, Zadia, Tasia, Dante, and Naeem. First of all, I personally do not like uneven dates, because to me, Tasia was like the eyeball out. She was the fifth wheel. She didn't really need to be there. Then another thing that I personally would not like is if I like two guys that's there, that's a problem for me, because I feel like I'm going to want both of their attention. Like, it's just too confusing, because this is the same thing that kept happening last season with, what's his name? What's old boy name with the messed up teeth, y'all? Jason kept going on these double dates where Kyra was there as well as Liz. I'm not about to keep playing them games, okay? Let's not do that, because that gets annoying after a while. But let's go ahead and see what happens here. We have Naeem, who's clearly interested in Zadia. You also have Dante, who's interested in Zadia. You have Shiloh, who's more so interested in, I feel like, Dante, but she's sitting next to Naeem, and when she tells him that physical touch is her love language, he rubbing on her. So I'm like, okay, so everybody's just liking on everybody. Cool. So when they first start, talking, I think they asked like, oh, what type of person do you want to date or whatever. Tasia is like, oh, I want a smart man because he gonna be able to figure everything out. I'm like, girl, you just shouldn't have even been here. No offense to Tasia, but I just feel like her man is not here, first of all. And secondly, again, you were looking like a fifth wheel. So they're talking about, at one point, all this sexual stuff, like, oh, what's the freakiest place you've had sex and all this stuff. Tasia does not want to put her business out there. You have Naeem talk about he risked his life in the shower. You have Zadia. She said that she hooked up with somebody on a baseball field. All this stuff is happening. I just feel like everybody was flirting with everybody in that scene except for Tasia. And that's no offense to her, but I just feel like she was very uncomfortable once all the sexual talk started happening. All right, now let's go ahead and talk about when all the ladies met up so they can talk about these men. And first of all, one of the ladies was missing. Who was it? Aisha. She got into a car accident. She ended up calling Mamine and let her know that Phil was coming to the rescue. I said, hold on. When was you interested in Phil? Y'all, I feel like there have been so many conversations that have happened and we just started this season, because I just knew she was going to say Frank, not Phil. Phil is the guy with the weird haircut. Frank is the guy with the big shiny face. I just knew she was going to say Frank was coming to pick her up. Not no damn Phil. But okay, girl, get it how you live. So the day goes on because we need to figure out, did anybody have good dates or bad dates? So, of course, we start off with Camille, and she's like, yeah, I have a connection with my black kin, Cornelius. And I'm just like, girl, he wasn't even on a damn date with you. He was technically on a date with Courtney. But you was so busy in their business. Now you claiming it as yours? All right, girl. I just feel like Camille is over here putting all her eggs in the Cornelius basket. And I feel like he ain't even really paying her no never mind at this point. Because that whole time that they were sitting around at that table when Courtney and Walter was there, he was mostly focused on Courtney and not paying no attention to Camille. Now, baby, we see all the facial expressions come out of Camille at this point because Tasia said that she had a connection with Cornelius, and here comes Carrie out of nowhere. Again, because I swear, y'all, on that first episode, nobody was checking for Carrie like that, or at least they made it seem like nobody was looking at Carrie. But baby, she said her and Cornelius was on the phone for like 2-3 hours just talking it up. I said, oh, okay, Carrie, look at you. But y'all, Camille, she was over there seething. She was pissed that she was not the only woman who had eyes for Cornelius. Now let's go ahead and move on. So the next person that we talk to is Sabrina. And of course, she's talking about Walter, y'all. She has eyes only for Walter, to be honest. Because I feel like they've connected and she is really feeling him. But she also happened to mention Tyrone. I said, oh, the guy who you left standing there looking stupid while he was singing in Korean because you don't know the language? All right. And, she talks about how he's just such a nice guy. And Zadia, she opens up about how they went on a date and how he's such a good communicator and she's really feeling him. One thing that I definitely respected about Zadia was that she did not go in there and be like, yeah, because he opened up to me about his PTSD. Because y'all know we have watched this show season after season, and them women, they get together and they just blab about everything that the man done told them. Nothing is between two people. So I'm definitely respecting her for that. All right, now there goes all the positive things that were said about Tyrone, because Carrie, again, y'all, Carrie is making her rounds. She said that she was really feeling Tyrone. And like I said, I'm telling y'all, when I saw them together, they look like they could be a cute little couple. She said that he told her that he was interested in her and he liked her and all this stuff. However, she ends up getting a phone call from him. She said that he was very cold and said that, he realized he's not interested in her, and that hurt her feelings for sure. I don't know what other way could he have told her that. Like, I would have, honestly, I respect the fact that he told her, like, hey, I'm not going to continue to pursue you, because why string somebody along when you know that they're not your number one contender? Because think about it, we've watched season after season where these guys are making 5 connections while the girls only be focused on one person. So I actually respect the fact that he told her, like, listen, I ain't really feeling you like that, like, enough to keep you around, so I'm going to go ahead and pursue other things. Now, I wasn't there on a phone call. However, here comes Shiloh out of nowhere talking about he called me right after he called you with that information, and he felt really bad, and he didn't have the capacity to try to date more than 3 women. And I'm just like, Shiloh, honestly, you didn't even have to say shit. Like, you didn't even have to say nothing about that, because that opens up a whole nother can of worms, because it sounds like he was definitely able to articulate more to you than he was to Carrie. So now Carrie wants to have a conversation with him, because it's messed up that you sit up here, you break things off with me. That's one thing. But then you sat up here and called another chick who's on this show to be like, yeah, I had to break it off with her. I wasn't really feeling her, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, that makes it real messy. So we have the other ladies talking about who they're interested in, right? So then you have Mami, she says Corey, Zadia, she mentions Naeem, and Shiloh, she mentions Dante, right? I said, oh, okay, I see where this is going. Also, I just want to mention that nobody mentioned Frank or Phil in any of this conversation. Carrington either. But I think that's because they knew Aisha's picks would probably be Phil and Frank. So that's what probably saved them. So now let's get to the guys that we don't like. First thing, Zadia is like, listen, I don't like Corey. Nothing he says makes sense. I'm not feeling him. You have Sabrina chiming in. She don't like Corey. She wants no parts of Corey. Like I said earlier in my review, she don't like that man. She wanted no parts of that man. Corey can get on. He ain't her type. Now, unfortunately, one thing I don't like about this show is that all because a man is not the man for you, I don't think you should judge him that hard because he may be the man for somebody else. And what I mean by that is, Mameen likes his corny ass. That's fine. But I don't think that, like, Sabrina should try to rain so hard on his parade because he ain't the man for her. Especially when she was like, I need a man that's at my level or above me. Like, all this stuff. And I'm just like, well, girl, what level is that? Because you still looking for love just like everybody else around here. Hell, you think Walter about to be that man? Like, girl, let's not forget that Walter is out here playing women left and right because he has a sad sob story from 20 years ago about his wife dying. Yeah, that's cool and all, but sir, what was your last 3 relationships since then like? Let me know what that was like. Don't be sitting up here trying to tell somebody no sad sob story so that they can feel sorry for you, even though you've been dating since then. So how about we learn about them past about 2 relationships, then we can really judge Walter. And y'all, I do not like Corey at all. I just don't like when a lot of times when these women, they get together and the men do it as well. If the person is not for you, that's okay. But when somebody else is interested in them, I feel like that's pretty messed up that you don't give them that opportunity to explore that. Y'all get what I'm saying? Like, because if enough people feel that way to bash that person, then they're going to get sent home. And then you have another contestant who doesn't have anybody that they're interested in. Y'all get what I'm saying? But anyways, now let's talk about the other guy who they ain't interested in, and that is Carrington. According to Tasia, Carrington is trying to run for president or something. She is not feeling this man at all. Again, we have Sabrina piping up about how they were on the phone and she mentioned their age difference. And honestly, I feel like in that moment, Carrington was over it. He was over constantly having conversations with these women and they bring up their age difference. Because like I said earlier, Carrington is 33 years old? Most of the women on this season are in their 40s or definitely over the age of 33. They are 38 and above. So who is he really going to be out here dating? It's not like he has like the selection of the age range of 28 to 35. Like, no, on this season, we just happen to have more older women. So he trying to, maneuver how he can. So, like, the fact that Sabrina brought it up that, Carrington was like, listen, I'm not about to go back and forth with you about this. If you can't handle the fact that I'm younger, then we don't need to talk. I feel like that was a valid statement. I'm sorry. If you're gonna consistently bring up the fact that I'm younger than you, then that's probably always going to be an issue. Or even if you don't constantly bring it up, it's always going to play in the back of your mind of, he has some growing to do. Ooh, he needs to mature. Ooh, he's childish. Like, that is probably always going to play in your mind. So, I don't mind him saying, let me move the fuck on because you clearly are not the person for me. I don't see what's wrong with that. I guess I'm probably standing alone here with this. All right, so now 2 ladies have to go out with these guys to let them know either they're going to be not ready to love or they're getting a second shot. So we have Tasia. She's meeting up with Corey. Oh, Lord, y'all. First of all, he over there talking about he got to get a hug from her. He hugging her. His hands keep moving lower down her back. He just hold her. And she's like, okay, you can go ahead and let me go now because you don't have my permission to keep touching on me like this. I'm like, Corey, you got to go. You are pulling a Troy right now. You are pulling a Troy. And within that whole thing, I feel like he is a cornball the whole time. But the ladies ended up allowing him to stay. And that was probably because Mameen she wants to, further explore that relationship. Because besides that, nobody else is really feeling Corey. Me personally, I would have sent him home the first night. Just saying. So, now let's hop on over to Camille and Carrington. Because Carrington thinks that he's on a date. Well, actually, both of these guys thought they were on a date. But clearly, it was not. So, Carrington thinks he's on a date with Camille. However, Camille is trying to tell him, what the ladies were saying. So, here's the thing with the whole Carrington conversation. I kind of wish that they would stop calling this a date. This is just straight up elimination round. Because he was really trying to figure out if this was a date or if she was about to let him go home. But she's like, I have to verbalize what the ladies have said. Because she was like, okay, so the consensus was that a lot of people feel like you have a wall up and that you have a lot of interview type questions. And he tried to cut her off. And I'm just like, Carrington, just let her finish. Let her finish, sir. So Camille, she brings up the fact that some of the women, they felt like he was very calculated and that he was not authentic. And he's like, okay, well, how about, basically you get to know me right now. That's basically what he was trying to say. And she's like, okay, well, I've been waiting for that. And I'm like, when did y'all even talk to each other? I'm sorry, but when did Camille have time to talk to Carrington? Because she was chasing Cornelius down so much. So one thing that he brought up was that a lot of these women can't carry a conversation. And I said, we don't talk about that on this show. That's one thing I have not heard anyone mention since watching all 5 seasons of this. And I'll be honest, this brings me back, y'all, to that conversation he was having with Carrie when he said, oh, what are your hobbies? What do you like to do? And her response was, I'm adventurous. Bitch, that ain't answering the question. I understand that everyone wants this, ooh, let's go with the flow. Let's just vibe out. But at the end of the day, I think it's funny that the women can ask questions. For example, Camille can ask somebody, what's your credit score? You have Tasia asking, is you single or is you single? You have all these things. But when a guy asks y'all questions, it's a problem. I'm not trying to be on his side at all. I'm just saying, this is a 6-week process. If I'm trying to date you and get to know you, I do want to know stuff like, what do you like to do? Do you like to go dancing? Do you like to bar hop? Do you like to just sit at home and chill? I'm asking you questions because technically I'm trying to get to know you. And if you're going to give me some BS answers, then we're not going anywhere in the conversation. So after this, Camille is just still trying to finish telling him what the consensus was amongst all the ladies. And he's like, okay, so when are we going to get to the next part of this date? And I'm like, sir, have you never watched an episode of the show? I understand you're trying to smooth talk this, but you're about to go home. How are you not seeing all these red flags that you're about to go home? So she eventually gets it out that he is not ready to love. According to him, he had mad love to give, and maybe this was not the process for him. Me personally, I don't think that this was the process for him, partially because the demographic of who showed up this season wasn't really in his favor. Secondly, yeah, this just wasn't a good match for you, Carrington. Maybe next time, bro. So, as we already know, Corey is staying to live another day. We'll see how long that lasts. I cannot wait for the next episode. Let me know what y'all think about this episode in the comments. I can't lie. At first, I wasn't too happy or interested with, the first episode. It was a bit But now I'm starting to feel out these characters, starting to feel out the people. Let me know what you guys thought about it. Go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. And I will talk to you in the next one. Bye, guys.